Hey guys, sorry I couldn't be in class tonight. I'm going to be presenting you my paper, which was a content analysis of Big Love, the television series, and its use as propaganda and its effectiveness as propaganda. To give you some background information, Big Love was an HBO television series that followed the lives of modern day polygamists. Bill Hendrickson and his wives, Barb, Nikki, and Margene, lived in a regular subdivision just like everybody else. They just had a secret that when you went into their backyards, there were no fences between the three houses. Um, all three women shared the backyards, and Bill would stay the night with whichever wife's night it was. This television series had a lot of throwbacks, though, to fundamentalist Mormonism, um, and he had family that lived back on an actual compound for polygamy and that sort of thing. So you got these really interesting juxtapositions of what is normal and what is not normal. And I started looking at those things long before we got assigned this paper and was wondering maybe the creators had a reason for exploring these ideas. And as I looked further and found these interviews with the creators, they talked about how it wasn't so much is polygamy right? That wasn't so much their question. Their question was, is marriage between a man and a woman the only sanctified marriage there is? And so I looked at this TV show as propaganda towards that idea, and then were they effective at getting across their point? Um, it's interesting to me that they used polygamy, because what you always see as the buzz item, I guess, right now is gay marriage, and the creators are a gay couple. But they decided to use polygamy because they didn't want something that's so readily available. They've said multiple times, we use polygamy because it's something people don't normally think about when we talk about the sanctity of marriage. Um, so, certain episodes that I pulled out for the paper kind of discuss the everyday problems that anybody has in a marriage. Those problems include, you know, credit card debt. Nikki, one of the wives, has credit card debt and hasn't told her husband, and that's not a problem that is just for a polygamous family. It's actually a problem that a lot of families run into. They don't. One of the partners doesn't know how badly in debt the other one is in the marriage. Um, we also see issues like Barb in the TV series, who wants to work outside of the home, but Bill wanting her to stay at home with the children, and that is a problem that a lot of other marriages see too. Um, so I kind of use those as building blocks to say maybe maybe this is just like any other marriage. Maybe the creators wanted you to see that these everyday problems aren't unique to just the male and female um, monogamous marriage. Um, so I looked at that and kind of showed it as this was propaganda because it's making you think, and that's problems I see in the average marriage, but you're showing it to me in this marriage on this television series. So I thought that was an interesting point. I used the definition, the very simple definition by Jowett and O'Donnell, that propaganda is anything that tries to mold your opinion about a certain idea. So the creators of this show were using the television series and the polygamous marriage to mold your idea about what is a sanctified marriage. Um, it was an interesting content analysis. I thought it was very cool to kind of look at the polygamous marriage because it's not something you do see every day. But to move on to the effectiveness of the propaganda, I looked at the fan sites as well as critical acclaim for the series and that sort of thing. The series was nominated for an Emmy for one of its seasons, and one of the actresses won a Golden Globe for her portrayal of Nikki Grant. And so it shows that critics were starting to see some of these things and starting to say, this show is more than just an interesting story. The show is getting into social issues that we don't always talk about. So the critics were definitely behind the fact that this was a piece of propaganda and it was being effective with what it was trying to sell to its audience. The fan sites, honestly, were just blown up with people talking about um, what is a sanctified marriage. And there were people that were firmly against polygamy being a sanctified marriage, and there were people who were strongly in support that this marriage on TV, on this television show, was a sanctified marriage, that it was something you may not see every day, but it was people trying to live their lives and doing the best they can, and they just happened to decide um, that the best they could do was be part of a plural marriage. So it was interesting, even though not everybody agreed that it was a sanctified marriage. I think the series got its point across to the viewers because it got them at least talking about what is a sanctified marriage. So the creators of the show, interestingly enough, maybe they didn't win people over to saying this is a sanctified marriage, but they got people talking about what is a sanctified marriage and what makes a sanctified marriage, what makes a marriage appropriate in the eyes of our society. So it was a very interesting take. It was something that like I said, I had thought about the show trying to get a certain point across before, but I never really looked at it as something this broad. I honestly had looked at it as, are they trying to push a polygamist agenda, that sort of thing. But honestly, once you look at their interviews and the fans' reactions and the critics' reactions, you see they were trying to get across that maybe we don't have any idea what a perfect marriage is. And maybe we do need to start the conversation on what is a sanctified marriage and what is a perfect marriage. Um, but in the end, I chose for my personal opinion, to say that Big Love was definitely an effective piece of propaganda because it got the conversation started and people started to say, maybe I don't have the right answer to this question. Maybe I need to look further for the answer to this question. Um, and I guess that's about it. I really actually kind of enjoyed this paper. I feel like such a nerd for saying that. Um, but I really think that this kind of made me think more about this issue as well. So, sorry again that I couldn't be there tonight. I hope to see you all at some point when I'm feeling better. But thank you. Have a good night.